My name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association, and today we are thrilled to talk with the two of you about this wonderful trip to the voting booth and the importance around us exercising our responsibility as citizens of this great country. And so I am absolutely thrilled to have Ms. Tina Perry, who is the president of OWN, on our roundtable today, and also Munirah Jones, who is the creative responsible for this great project. So without further ado, we're going to introduce the members of AAFCA. We may have one or two additional ones pop in, and so as they do, they will introduce themselves. But I'm going to start to my left with KB, who is in Houston, Ronda Racha Penrice, who is in Atlanta, Reginald Pounder, who is in Chicago, Carla Renata, who's in LA, and Kathia Lourenco-Woods, who's in Philadelphia. I'm going to sign off, but I'll be back when we end things. See you guys soon.
Hi guys, I'm Reggie Ponder, the Real Critic out of Chicago, and I have a question for both Tina and Munirah. The question for you, Tina, is that not only why is this important, but why did you take on this particular project? Because it is a little bit different than just talking to people and saying, hey, let's go out and vote. And then Munirah, I want to ask you about the development of your characters. Did you have fun in developing those characters and playing them, seeing you played more than one?
Well, as you guys know, Own Your Vote is our nonpartisan, get out the vote, registration campaign. And it was always designed to empower our viewer, the African-American female, to not just, get to the polls and vote, but also help her along her journey. Give her all the resources and tools she could need, and also for her to inform her family and friends and get her communities out to vote. Now, we know there's a lot of obstacles this year to voting, everything from COVID-19 to transportation to poll locations changing. There's so much confusion about mail-in ballots. And when we conceived of the Own Your Vote campaign, last fall, it was important to us that we reached all Black women on these topics. And when we first met Munirah, we saw Juntland and were just wowed by her work, thought it was so funny and compelling. We thought animated shorts, working with her, would be a great way for us to talk about the campaign differently, reach some younger African-American women who may not be linear TV watchers or be intimate with our brand yet. We were excited also to try to do something in a satirical, funny, lighthearted way. This is where political meets entertainment. That's what how we kind of describe what she's created. And we didn't want to preach to people. We wanted to figure out how to talk about these issues in a non-preachy way. And animation and working with Munirah and her voice and vision was really what drove us to want to make these shorts and do something different for OWN. Experimenting in the animation space was something also we've been thinking about once we met her and saw her work. And so this was also a good first step on working with her and talking to our viewers.
And just in developing the characters, it was important that we represent, OWN's audience, which is, Black women, 40s, 50s, a little bit older than me, but also I wanted to represent a younger demographic, as Tina said, some viewers who may be more into social media, who may be a little bit more apathetic. We wanted to present a spectrum. So we have characters that span 3 decades in terms of age and lifestyle, which is relatable to a wide variety of women. So that was basically, my process in developing the characters. And I just wanted the main character, Camille, to be, a woman of purpose. She's my age, I'm in my mid-30s. And it was just important that I voice her because it was just a natural, progression for me from voicing all of my other characters with Juntland. But with this was my first opportunity to work with other cast members and direct them, because before I was doing all the voices and that absolutely would not have worked this time around. But it was fun. It was fun directing, voice actors, and so much of it was so new to me. But yeah, that was basically how I went about developing the characters.
I want to talk a little bit about two things. The fact that you have a different animation style here, Munirah, than I normally see in animation. And I wanted to know why you settled on that particular animation style. And secondly, I wanted to, it made me laugh so loud when you called out the millennials for them being more involved in their social media presence and how many followers they have than getting out and voting. And you would be in that millennial age. So I'm just wondering why you were like, look, I'm calling y'all out. I'm one of y'all, but I'm gonna call y'all out anyway.
Yeah, that was it. It was just like, holding up a mirror. I just want to be clear. We do have apathetic voters that, that range over, age groups, but it's really important that my age group and younger get some tough love, because we're not doing everything that we can do to make sure our voices are heard and to make sure that we are agents of change. So I figure I'm one person that they might listen to. If they like my other Juntland stuff, then maybe I can sneak in some medicine and, with these spoonfuls of sugar that I've done with Sincerely Camille. And as far as the animation style, it was just the same style that I've, done with Juntland. And that was what attracted on to me, was the style and my tone and my voice. So, we just stuck with that. So it was working. So don't break it. It was working, basically.
I just want to jump in and say the originality of her style is really something that drew us to her. When you think about a lot of the popular, well-known animation that's out there, they kind of can fall into a couple of buckets. And it was important to us because we were doing something new for Black women, and there's really never been an animated series directed to Black women like this before, storytelling. It really lent itself that her style was unique, and people who love animation are kind of like, wow, this kind of style I haven't really seen before. We're getting that feedback and hearing it, and they're liking it.
Cool, thank you so much. I enjoyed it very, very much. Kudos to you and congratulations.
It's KB here. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for chatting. So my first question is for Munirah. I love Sincerely Camille. I think it is very relatable, and Black women can really see ourselves represented in at least one of the characters, but maybe a mixture, honestly, so maybe more. So tell me a little bit about what personal lived experiences, particularly with how the world has changed with COVID, that you put into these particular characters, and how you guys selected the voice actresses who portray Sarah and Stacey, because I do think that you guys have kind of a natural chemistry, and I was just curious about that as well.
Well, I think with each of the characters, they have some personality traits that every woman can relate to. Camille is sincere, obviously. She's genuine, a little bit quirky, and she's motivated. Sarah she's loving, she's sweet, she's earnest, and she's a little repressed. And Stacey she's sensitive. She is judgmental, she's apathetic, she's perceptive, and she has no filter. And, they could, I guess they could be kind of seen as archetypes, but we all have these traits within us, and with animation, everything kind of has to be heightened anyway. But I think every woman can see themselves a little bit in each character. And that was really my purpose in creating, their different traits. Wait, what was the second part of the question? Did I answer everything?
Oh, yes. I was just saying, kind of, how have your personal lived experiences, what have you brought from your own life kind of into these particular characters? And how did you select the actresses for Sarah and Stacey?
And so for the actors, again, this was my first time working with a casting director. And she just, she sent out feelers across the country. and we got a bunch of submissions back. And it was really, in the beginning, I created a treatment. And so I had an idea of how I wanted the voices to sound in my head. And so in the beginning, I was looking for exactly that, but it was not until the process of listening to the submissions that the actors sent in that it completely changed my perception of how everything was supposed to sound, because there were so many incredible actors who submitted their voiceovers. And so what you hear now is something completely different from what I even envisioned, because I was thinking as Munirah, who's doing all these voices, how was it supposed to sound? And so I just went with who was the most engaging, who made me laugh the hardest. That was one of the more fun parts about directing, is just laughing at their takes on what I had written. And so that was basically it. It was just it was an organic way of just recognizing who was funny. And that was basically it.
Well, it is a very, very funny series. And of course, like, obviously there's a very heavy topic and we want people to be engaged with voting, but it does touch on a lot of different topics as well. And I loved it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi guys, I'm Kathia Lourenco-Woods, Couple Social out of Philadelphia. My question is, and I think it's great that you're using animation, but how do we keep young people engaged? We seem to be doing these campaigns, especially with this generation that has access to more information than any other generation before. And I asked myself, well, we voted and we didn't have that. That was just something in us that said, this is an issue, this speaks to me, and I want to voice my opinion on it. So how do we get young people to understand that it's not an every 4-year thing, but you should be engaged locally, you know, in your state election, and the list goes on and on. How do we get them to do that without always having to go above and beyond, you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we've talked about it a lot at OWN with our Own Your Vote campaign, because it's important to us that it's not just an election year campaign. This needs to be something, needs to be ingrained in all of us, especially in our communities, that, you know, this is something you have to exercise, stay awake about all the time, year after year, your local elections as well as the national ones. And so we're going to be continuing on with Own Your Vote and trying to find ways to talk to that audience out after November 3rd. And I think we're going to have to keep figuring out ways to be creative. You know, the truth is, now more than ever, everyone is distracted. There's more things pulling on your time than ever before in the history of the world, right? And I think for younger people who are finding their way in life and the world, it's even more challenging, because between social and movies and content and games, it's a lot. So one thing is, I think, repetition, that you keep this message going quarter after quarter, year after year. It's like everything shouldn't just stop because the election's over. I think also finding those creative ways. I think we're gonna have to keep going above and beyond the kind of campaigns we do, creators we work with, the way we also seep that message in. I think, you know, I've talked to a lot of my creative execs at OWN about, you know, as we've become more pro-social, as we're talking more about civic engagement, how can we, in our creative of our scripted shows, our unscripted shows, like naturally have things in them to kind of run, versus every 4 years it's thrown on you. So I think it's a great question. We're working on it. And it's something I think we all need to really put effort towards, because the younger generations, they're going to make a big, big difference.
Thank you. And I like the approach of using something that we're comfortable with, but without it feeling preachy.
Hey, it's Ronda. I wanted to ask the both of you, how exciting was doing this for each of you? Because I'm assuming, Munirah, that you would never think that you would get an opportunity to use your gift in this way, specifically and intentionally for Black women on a network that targets Black women. And Tina, I can't imagine there are many Munirahs out here. So please talk about that aspect.
I honestly think that this was just a natural next step You know, if you ask anybody in my my friends and family circle, they were like, of course. I mean, duh. This is where you belong. This is who you speak to. Your work is for Black women. We started the conversation a year ago about this project. So I've known for, you know, a year that this was going to happen. Of course, I was ecstatic when I got the phone call from Carla, who's the executive producer on the project. But it felt natural. It felt like a natural move to be working with the Oprah Winfrey Network. And I will say it was hard work. I will say that there's still, you know, little bits and pieces here and there that were like, literally the last episode I just approved today, like earlier today. So I'm still kind of in the thick of still, you know, making sure everything is done. But once I have a moment to step away and breathe and just think about this whole thing, yeah, I'm gonna pop open a bottle of champagne and just really celebrate, because this is huge. And I'm just so glad that they chose me. And I mean, it's Oprah. It's Oprah, okay? So that's how I feel about it. I'm sure Tina will be much more eloquent. You know?
Listen, I'm excited. I don't even know if that's a big enough word, I have to be honest, about how I feel. And I know we feel at the network, and I know Oprah feels. When we first got introduced to Munirah's work, she had us laughing, but in awe. You know, what you guys are familiar with what we do. We really look for, you know, not just talented storytellers, but people who have a very unique, distinctive voice, and you can feel their intentionality and purpose in their work. And we saw that in Juntland, and we knew we had to work with her. And one reason is because she is rare. You know, there are a lot of African-American creators and storytellers, and we're working to try to find them all and figure out the right match for us. But to find one working in this medium that we have not traditionally had a lot of representation as African-Americans or as Black women, it hit a chord for us. And then she was like pretty amazing. So the first time, you know, Munirah, I'm sure you remember this, we sat down and talked. We had a conversation, the three of us, in the own offices, and hearing from her directly in person, her energy, ideas, her journey, how she felt about animation, her urge and passion to have to create. Like, she has to do this. This is a part of who she is. She's gonna be, if it wasn't with us, somebody else is gonna be telling stories with her. We knew immediately she needs to be a part of the OWN family, and we got to work with her. So I can tell you, Oprah was very actively involved throughout the process, and for all the cuts and the copy and everything that came in, she is so proud and honored that this is a part of our brand, as well as our Own Your Vote campaign. The reception has been tremendous. I think, you know, we knew we had something amazing on our hands, but it's been pretty tremendous. So I can tell you, the whole network, these shorts are a huge source of pride, and we do a lot of great work with a lot of great creators. But you know, she made it look easy. I know she said it was hard work, but I have to tell you, she made it look easy as she kept turning things in. And when we first got the scripts, and the scripts turned to, you know, kind of the first cuts, it was magic watching her. Yeah.
Well, I hope we got more of Camille in store.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is we're not done working with Munirah, so that's what I'll let you know for sure.
Hi everyone, Mercedes here out of Atlanta. My question is really, you said you had a warm reception from people viewing it, and I've gotten a chance to see it, and I really enjoy it. Just to see myself reflected in animation is pretty cool. And I wanted to know, because they're such short pieces, was there anything that you felt like you cut that should have made the chopping, or should have made the final cut? What was the challenging part of keeping them short?
I think I got most of what I wanted to say into the shorts. I think in the beginning we were wanting them to be a little bit shorter, like maybe in the 3-minute range. And I had to, you know, go to them and say, they probably probably need to be a little bit longer just so we can fit in all the dialogue and so it feels full and we have the entertainment and we have the education and all of that. There were a couple of jokes here and there that I wanted to get in there that didn't make it, but as far as the messaging, I feel pretty good about that. I think we got everything. I think I got everything that I wanted to say in them. Of course, I mean, we could have 100 episodes. There's so many things that we could cover, but we only had 6. And again, we just wanted to maintain the balance and make sure it wasn't preachy again. So, but yeah, I feel good about, you know, what made it to the final shows. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Reggie again. So Tina, I know OWN is a women's network, but you know, I have 3 women in my house. That means that I have to watch OWN. I have no choice. Did you have any thoughts in your mind about what this could say or might say to men? And Munirah, as you develop those characters, what were you trying to say, if anything, to men?
That's a great question. You know, we have this year started to make more and more programming that features and highlights African-American men. You know, as much as our brand moniker is See Yourself and we target African-American women, African-American men are critical to their lives. And whether we have a large demographic of them watching us or not, doesn't mean we shouldn't be celebrating and bringing them into the fold of what we do. And this is something really important to Oprah and me also and the whole network. So you saw this when we did Oprah's 100 Black Fathers special. You've probably seen more and more representation in some of our other spotlights and specials. We just did one called They Call Me Dad. That was great. You know, when Oprah did the Where Do We Go From Here, she had a lot of Black males on there talking about kind of racial injustice, what we were doing. So you're gonna see more of this from the network, and I hope they come. If they don't, that's okay, because the point is they still need to be celebrated, and I know our viewer will see herself. It was important also for us with these shorts that there were males, that the Black male was represented because he's a critical part of our community. We need him to go vote. He has opinions. When we were shaping our Own Your Vote campaign, we had to think about who do we have access to, we can reach deeply, and we know we can make a difference. There's 16 million Black women who can go to the polls this year on November 3rd. I don't know if you guys know that. Our goal was to get as many of them there as we can. And if she brings along her boyfriend, her brother, men and her people in her community, other men, that's a win for us all. So I think I'm glad you asked that, because that's something I think you're all going to see more and more from OWN in the years to come, because it's an important part of our community, and we got to show that.
As far as the male characters, again, just like with the female characters, I wanted to have, you know, a range of personalities, from Melvin, who is, you know, the ex-felon who's highly intelligent and heavily involved in the political process, to Sarah's husband, who is also involved, to Junior, who is the main character's brother, who is kind of apathetic, but, you know, for deeper reasons than he's willing to delve into. And again, because it is animation, some of their personalities are heightened, but it was important that men, you know, that I represent men in this series and make sure that they're a part of the conversation, because like Tina said, we need them. You know, we need men to show up and be involved in the conversation and take their civic duties seriously. So it was important that for every woman that I have a man there. And no matter the political affiliation, as we saw with Camille's father, who's a Republican, loves his family just the same, you know, would die for them, but just has a different, you know, political affiliation. So we just want to keep the conversation going, basically.
Thank you. That is real important to me as I watch, and thank you so much, Tina, for saying that, because I have noticed. So thank you.
That's good. Hi guys, it's me again. So I'm glad that Reggie brought up the conversation about the males being part of the series, because there's that one episode called This Land Was Made for Drew and Lee. And there's that whole different spin where there's a conversation between the Black woman and the white man where he takes that joke just one step too far. And I love how you incorporated that in the process of this whole voting discussion, because it's a real conversation. What was the impetus to bring that into the forefront as well?
Well, I think most Black women have experienced, microaggressions in the workplace. And I will just say, after the last election, literally the day after the election, it was palpable in my workplace. And so I never forgot it. I never forgot things that I would hear from my colleagues and from my supervisors. And that affects the way that we move, throughout our lives. Too often Black women are interrupted and just all kinds of stuff, whether it's the workplace or our home life or whatever. And so it was important that I present Camille, as a full woman. We wanted to go into the workplace and we wanted to have her have a conversation with someone there. And I wanted to get like a white man's perspective. And I pulled from my own experiences to create that man. So that's basically how I did that. It was important that we do it. So
I appreciated it. I really did, because everything else pretty much dealt with the ladies and their shenanigans. But there was that one episode that dealt with that. And I was like, oh, okay, Munirah, you a deep doll. Okay, thank you for that.
And it was bite-sized. I had to get it in a bite-sized episode. But like I said, we could go so much longer and we could have so many more episodes, but we had to get it done quickly. So
I need for you to do a follow-up episode on that one, though. I just want to see how that whole relationship kind of plays out. Don't you think so, Tina?
Yes, I do. And I want to say that, we have a pretty mixed workforce at home, which is one of the great things about the company. And it was interesting how so many people loved that episode. Didn't matter actually who you were, your background, what age you were, your race. Like, people were cracking up all across the network watching that episode because, and I think what people appreciate is that Munirah brought into this series, these suite of animated shorts, a lot of her personal life experiences. And because they respected and related and understood the creator she is and how important that she import that in, it was so well received, not just within the company, but also even outside in the way you're describing. So I'm glad you picked that up because that's a great episode. She had a lot of people laughing with that one.
My pleasure. Thanks, ladies.
Hi, it's KB again. So Munirah, what can you tease about any upcoming episodes that we have coming down the pipe? I got to see episode 5 literally right before this. So I'm just curious if you can tease anything that's coming in the future.
Well, we just have one more episode after this. We just bring, everyone's story to a close. That's about all I can say. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what I should say. Tina!
She's like, Tina, help.
And all I can tell you is she does a great job of how it does come to a close, and it won't disappoint for the journey you've been on. But yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Well, tell us how we can support you guys. I know I watched it before, so I liked it on YouTube. And so how do we let know or let other people know that we need to keep Sincerely Camille going?
Yeah. I mean, look, first I'll say is share with your friends, share with your family, share on social, get the link, send it out on email. I've reconnected with some sorority sisters I haven't talked to in ages. And I was like, we haven't caught up. We got to catch up, see what's going on. I remember you had a great sense of humor. I want you to check this out. And I've just sent it as an email. And I've gotten them I haven't talked to you forever. This was great. Think of your ways. You all have great communities and relationships, from your family to just even acquaintances and people that will get it and also have a sense of humor. whoever they are, share it. I think that's one of the biggest things. And also in your circle, you know, you guys are a powerful group. You are well connected, and you are a heartbeat for what we do in content creation and our community. So also among yourselves, because you guys are a powerful voice. And just to get to be here today in front of you guys talking about it, this is a big, big deal for us. I just want to thank you. When they told us we were able to do this, that was a big, big check mark and a big smile across all our face.
Yeah, and social media, we know how powerful social media is. So, you know, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the kids are on there and the adults. So I would just say share on social media. And, you know, captions are important too. So just make sure you say something if you're excited about it, you know, whatever it may be, just share it.
Well, Munirah and Tina, on behalf of the world's largest group of Black film critics, we thank you. We are so appreciative of your putting forth this effort to educate our community, both men and women, about their power, about how to exercise their power coming up on November 3rd. So, yeah, we look forward to talking with you again about this show or about some other show. But thank you very much, and we will see you soon. Remember, vote on November 3rd. Literally, your life can depend on it. See you soon.